Let's talk about a situation we all dread, the traffic stop. Have you ever really wondered what the actual rules are? Not just what you've heard from friends, but what the law truly says. Because, in that moment, knowing the rules can make all the difference. So picture this. You see those flashing lights pop up in your rearview mirror. Your heart kind of jumps into your throat, right? You pull over. The conversation that's about to happen is governed by a very specific set of rules for both you and the officer. So what are they? Let's get into it. To really understand the rules we have today, we've got to go back in time to a single, seemingly ordinary traffic stop that somehow ended up going all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Yeah, this one case set a huge precedent that affects every single driver on the road today. It all kicked off in 1977 with a case called Pennsylvania v. Mimms, and the stop itself, it was for something super minor, an expired license plate. But then, the officer did something that became the heart of the whole issue. He ordered the driver, Mr. Mimms, to get out of the car. As soon as Mimms was out, the officer spotted a bulge under his jacket, did a quick pat-down, and bam, found a handgun. This one little stop raised a massive constitutional question, and the Supreme Court's answer is why traffic stops work the way they do now.
So, what authority did that specific case give to law enforcement? This is where we get into the real nuts and bolts of what an officer is legally allowed to do during any lawful traffic stop.
Well, this case gave us what's now famously known as the Mimms rule. The Supreme Court decided that during any lawful stop, an officer can order the driver out of their car. They don't need any extra reason. Their logic was that the potential risk to an officer's safety is more important than what they called the minimal intrusion of just having to step outside your vehicle. And that authority didn't just stop with the driver. Nope. Later court cases expanded it to passengers too. Now they can also frisk you. But, and this is a huge but, they can only do that if they have a reasonable suspicion that you're armed. Same goes for a quick sweep of your car for weapons. They need specific facts to suggest there's a weapon hidden. So those extra actions need their own justification. And that brings us to maybe the most important point of all. An officer's authority isn't a blank check. It has very clear limits. Just because they can order you out of the car doesn't mean they can suddenly do whatever they want. Let's look at exactly where that line is drawn. Okay, this right here is the critical distinction. Yes, an officer can tell you to get out, but no, they cannot use that as an excuse to start searching you or your car. A traffic stop is supposed to be brief and focused on why you were stopped in the first place. Like that expired plate. They can't just drag it out to go on some kind of fishing expedition for other things without a new, legally solid reason.
Let this one really sink in. In order to exit your car is not an invitation to search it. To do a search, an officer still needs one of three things: your clear consent, probable cause to believe there's evidence of a crime, or a warrant. That's pretty much the standard.
Okay, so that's the law. But what does this all mean for you in that stressful moment on the side of the road? Let's put together a simple, practical playbook for how to handle it. All right, first things first, comply with lawful orders. If an officer tells you to get out of the car, just do it calmly. Arguing about it on the roadside is only going to make things worse. Always keep your hands visible. And crucially, you can and should clearly state your position on searches. And finally, once it seems like it's over, you need to confirm that it's actually over. This phrase right here is incredibly powerful. Simply saying, "Officer, I don't consent to any searches," removes any and all doubt about whether you've given them permission. You don't have to be aggressive or confrontational about it, just clear and calm. And here's the other magic phrase. After the officer hands back your license and registration, you need to ask this simple question: am I free to go? This is so important because it clarifies whether the stop is officially concluded. If they say yes, you can leave. If they say no, then you are officially being detained, and at that point, they need a whole new reason to keep you there. Before we wrap this all up, there are a couple of essential ground rules to keep in the back of your mind that put all of this advice into the right context. First, everything we've talked about is built on the idea that the initial stop was lawful to begin with. Second, remember that refusing a lawful order, like the order to step out of your car, can get you hit with additional charges, so compliance really is key. And finally, it's good to know that your specific state might have laws that give you more protections than this federal baseline, but they can never give you less. So, as you can see, a traffic stop isn't just an arbitrary thing. It's a really complex stance that's governed by decades of legal decisions. Just understanding this basic framework, knowing what an officer can do, what they can ask, and where those limits are, is the first, most powerful step to navigating it safely and with confidence. So, the real question for you is, how does knowing all of this change the way you see those flashing lights?